Did Meghan Markle keep a diary of her entire time in the royal family? Is she planning to publish all of this as a first person tell all autobiography or not? Let's take a look at this, because this is really a big deal and this would really concern the royal family. The first article we have here is Meghan Markle is not publishing a kiss and tell despite new rumors about her diaries. According to one report, the Duchess kept a diary during her years at the palace. Years and years, or an entire year, in fact. But it's unlikely that it will become a tell-all book anytime soon, if it exists at all. That's one view of it. Here's another view from the Mirror. Anne Diamond. Disgruntled Meghan will make a mint from her diary on royal life. Of course she will. This is what they all write a kiss and tell. I think Fergie probably tried to write something. Even Diana wrote something. Meghan Markle kept a personal diary all the time she lived in Britain, documenting her engagement to Prince Harry, wedding and beyond, which will be published as a bombshell memoir. Meghan, the disgruntled Duchess of Sussex, is either clever, cynical, or both. It's been revealed that she kept a diary all the time she lived in Britain, covering everything from her engagement to Harry, the wedding, and beyond. What must Harry have felt about this? Because he saw her writing things down. He knew she was sneaking around. He knew, and he would have known that this was going to harm him, and that she was setting him and the royal family up. Many of us wondered how the Sussexes would finance their new life together, quote, out of the limelight in LA. We need wonder no more. A diary, even a tame one, would make a bombshell memoir and a prize beyond price for both Meghan and any publisher brave enough to bid for the rights. And we'd all be daft enough to buy it. Absolutely. Okay, and she keeps doing this from the beginning. The other thing I want to tell you about, is we have Meghan Markle's high school friend revealing how she toyed with his heart. This high school friend is Nima Vand, Shahs of Sunset star. And he did an interview on a podcast and how she toyed with all the boys' hearts. I find this interesting because it's relevant to other behaviors. Here's what he said. I went to an all-boys high school, and one of our sister schools was Meghan Markle's, Vand said. I grew up with her. We were friends for a long time. She was a year older than me. Meghan was amazing. A woman among girls. Everyone was in love with her. She was sweet and very kind. And everyone knows when boys and girls are young, girls are much more developed. A 15-year-old girl is much more developed than a 15-year-old boy. She's essentially equivalent to a 25-year-old male. A male doesn't develop to the point of a 15-year-old girl until he's about 25. Okay, so they develop much faster emotionally, sexually, relationally. They're way past the boys at age 15. He continued, we admired her. She was a good friend. Fascinating, but then Vand let the major dirt slip, revealing that teenage Meghan Markle had a serious, enviable game. And I think this is an oopsie on his part. I think she went to Vand, and her people spoke to Vand and asked him to put out some good press for her and to say some nice things about her. And I think that's what he was trying to do. Quote, Vand said, she knew what she was doing, he said. We were at a party one time and she sat on my lap. She got nose to nose with me. For a 16-year-old guy, that is an emotional moment. She said to me in Farsi, you are so beautiful, I asked her. How do you know Farsi, she said. I learned it from you, for you. Then she walked away. I used to take karate with Iranians. They all spoke Farsi. She really flirted with him. She really played with his heart, and then she walked off. That's really advanced game for a 16-year-old girl. Good day, YouTubers. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to look at did Meghan Markle keep a secret diary in the palace? I believe she did. Do you remember, and the reason for this picture, this is Edward Enninful of Cosmopolitan. He's very famous. is the joke on you? Is the joke on us? Is the joke on the palace? And here's a picture of, Meghan is obviously, that's a sly grin, and kind of jealous. I believe that Meghan did keep a secret diary. And I believe that's, that and the all-night partying and just not really respecting things, but especially I believe she was keeping a diary. I believe she might have been recording. I believe that she was taking photographs and she was caught, and even jewelry might have disappeared. Okay, so by the time that they were sent to Frogmore, okay, it was to keep them keep Meghan out of the palace. I mean, Harry never had this problem. Harry was not like, oh, you can't walk around the palace, you can't live in the cottage at Kensington Palace, and have access to everything. But when Meghan came, that happened. And she had to have a royal senior minder at all times. And do you remember I'm not sure what event it was, and they scheduled it at one of the palaces, either Windsor or Kensington, and the photos looked like romper room. They set it up out in a tent, and I was like, wow, I worked in government and we had better facilities than that. And the reason for that is because they set it up in a tent outside. They didn't even want Meghan in the palace. They didn't want her to have any access to the palace. And then there's the story of they were in the palace, Meghan and Harry were in the palace. Charles was doing something with, he was doing some sort of a conference with people, and they just walk right in. What are they doing? They're wandering through the palace in places where they're not supposed to be, not expected. What are they doing? I think Meghan is leading Harry around by the nose, but, other people will see it differently. So, did Meghan keep a diary during her excessively long, stay with the royal family, which would have been about a year, but there's before, there's the marriage. It's amazing how things have changed. I mean, she was a conquering hero coming to the UK, and everybody loved her, and she had that enormous, crazy wedding. I mean, they pulled out all the stops. She was really being treated as a queen. So, did she keep a diary? Did she keep a secret diary of her extensive time before and after with the royal family? Playa. Fox, oh dear. Oh my goodness. These are some interesting cards. So the cards are not going to deny and keep a secret diary. Well, we have the player. The player and the fox are brother-sister energy. So we have the player crossed by the fox and then earthquake. The worst result is happened or going to happen. The result of this diary is, wow, this is the palace's nightmare. So the player and the fox, they want something very specific and they go get it. The player just goes right after it, gets it, and then he's gone. The fox is a little bit more clever. It's female energy and moves the pieces around, and we'll use deception, but is a little bit more clever in how she gets it. The player just goes right after it. But she has both energies. The go right after it and the more clever, might be deceiving you. The most clever cards are the fox and the snake, both female energy cards. The player is not so much clever as just wants money, wants what they want, and is young, new on the scene. They come in, they run a play on you. They run plays on you. So, did Meghan write a secret diary? Well, definitely. She was sneaking around, and it's going to be a disaster for the palace. From the very beginning, the heart of this card represents Meghan, the player. She had this in mind from the beginning, and yes, she was sneaking around and digging up the worst dirt on the royals that she could. Plus there's the bedtime whispers between her and Harry. Is she pumping him for information under the guise that, she wants to be the best Duchess she possibly can be? Well, of course, she needs as much information as possible, but is she slyly gathering information, to use against him, use against the royals? all of that is going on. So she was definitely doing every possible thing, the tape recording, making notes, maybe audio recordings, and they just completely removed her from the palace. And you remember that William went and took MI6 training. MI6 is the spy people. Okay, so he took spy training. So a lot of really nefarious things may have been going on, and he needed to get up to speed so that he could recognize those things, counteract those things, proactively deal with those things, and make sure that the fire didn't race through the entire palace. So I think she's got some real dirt on them. And a lot of people, use the words blackmail. She has some really bad dirt on the royals, and that's why they're treating her so kindly and extracting her so carefully from the royal family. Deeply rooted in the palace by marriage, and the future is high tower, official, reacting to the official, or rising to the top, and the bad relationship. 11 and 9, 25 spades. So 2 5s change. Reacting to the bad relationship in the palace. Yeah, reacting to the bad relationships in the palace and the problems. So she feels that she's defending herself. And we see Meghan defending herself constantly. There's 72 British MPs spoke out for Meghan. Wow, that's really inappropriate for the MPs. She had Hillary Clinton speaking out for her. She had Michelle Obama speaking out for her. She had the Canadian guy, Justin Trudeau, the part-time ski instructor and drama teacher. She had all these A-list stars speaking out for her, B-list stars. Then she had the nail technician, the guy who rubs her feet, the one who does her hair, Daniel Martin, the crying hairdresser. This is her thing. She's always defending herself and saying, I didn't do anything wrong. People are just being mean to me and bullying me. And so that's kind of her thing. I think she almost is compulsive about trying to keep a perfect image. And I think people are starting to think, well, the lady doth protest too much. And that's... I note that this is exactly the opposite of what the palace does. They never explain and they don't complain. Kate went through, just the gauntlet when she joined the palace. They called her a gold digger, and she was, I don't know what else they called her. I think they made comments about her weight and her hips and all kinds of things. And she just never said anything. And now she has a golden reputation. I personally am in love with Kate, so I think she's just absolutely beautiful and has just a really excellent character. So is Meghan talking to a publisher? Has she gone far enough that she's cobbled all this memoir together? Because they're in lockdown. They've had a lot of time. They're not out there speaking. They're not traveling around. She's not going to meeting people face to face. There's been a lot of downtime. So she would have had time to put her notes together, write it out properly. It's a lot of work to write things, to maybe start writing this memoir, and that takes a lot of time and effort. Is she to the point where she's talking to publishers, hey, I want to publish this? How far along is she? Let's just see. What is all that? And I have to believe that Harry's out of the house. I mean, he's got to see the writing on the wall. This can't be good for him. This can't be good for the royal family. She's dragging him through all this. He's got to see that he's not going to be able to return to the royals if he goes along with this. So how far along is she? Has she spoken to the publisher? The Mustard Seed is the book, the written document card. Okay, so there's a book, a memoir. butterfly, very light, very transformative, very public cornerstone, very solid cornerstone. She has, she's really got it written down and put it together properly, very solidly, and she's ready to go public with it. 5, which is 2 hearts. Her close personal experience, her feelings, her emotions, her close personal memoir. Her very, very personal memoir is very solid, and she's ready to go public with it. So she's done a lot of work on this, and she's ready. She's publisher ready. So this says to, and Cornerstone is also a money card. So this says to me that she is talking to publishers. What's underneath? Straight razor, woman, no, scapegoat, and broken chalice. Scapegoat is the sickness card, kicked out, leaving, full stop, kicked out, and broken away from the royal family. Okay, so she's very upset. She feels like she's been removed, kicked out, expelled from the royal family, and the relationships are broken. So why not just burn the house down? The relationships are in her mind, the relationships are broken and unsalvageable. It doesn't matter that Charles is still writing, funding their entire life to the tune of millions of dollars. They're staying in an $18 million place, Tyler Perry place. It's not clear to me if they're actually paying rent or they're just like mansion surfing. Like, oh yeah, we're just going to stay in your mansion a little bit, Tyler. We're not going to pay you anything, and we're going to, lie around the pool and complain. Okay, so a lot of bitterness, a lot of anger. Doesn't feel like it's salvageable. Woman cut. Woman is hurt and feels kicked out of the royal family. So my batteries went out. So definitely going to be talking about her hurt feelings and how she was wronged in the palace. So it's out there. She's definitely going to talk about it. Okay. So this whole Shaws of Sunset thing where Meghan is like this, seductress with very strong game, even at 16. But, girls are much more developed much faster than boys, and they're really in charge of all of that business, all of the sexual flirtation, everything, until, boys are almost 25. Okay, so this brings up for me Charles and Meghan. Okay, did anything happen between Charles and Meghan? Because Meghan is potentially a previous yacht girl, which would give her a lot of experience in this kind of area. She was a celebrity golf caddy, and apparently she was the best. Okay, and basically she's there to smile and hand golf balls. It's all just personal interaction and being beautiful. She's not really going to do anything except, and she was basically, they auctioned off to the highest bidder these celebrity golf caddies, and then the golf caddies, like Meghan was one of them, they meet these very wealthy, very influential men, and they chat with them and they make a good impression. It's kind of like a very low-key kind of interview. Okay, so she's very good at that. She played sexy roles in Suits and in movies, and we've seen a lot of these. So did anything happen between Meghan and Charles, like untoward? I mean, what happened? Because Charles seemed quite smitten with her. He walked her down the aisle. That's a really, really big deal. He was calling her Tungsten, as that was a nickname, Tungsten Steel, really strong. Meghan is super, super duper strong, so he calls her Tungsten. He really liked Meghan, and that has quite changed. So what happened between Meghan and Charles? Because Meghan's here, so we're going to put Meghan here. Meghan and Charles. I'm glad the reading, okay. Look at that. The devil had to show up. All right, what happened between Meghan and Charles? And I want to know, like, about flirtation, using her feminine charms and wiles to really get him on her side, because she obviously does this. She did this with Piers Morgan. She really, really charmed him, and he just felt wonderful about the interaction. And then she just ghosted him and dumped him and never spoke to him again. And he felt, because she made such a nice personal connection with him, but he's married, and it wasn't like anything weird or anything, but they made a personal connection, and then he overwhelmingly felt that the personal connection was only on his side, and she was just playing him. And so then he became very angry, and he's become one of her biggest critics. So did Meghan do this to Charles? Well, roses is the flirtation card, but she does it to everybody, hand in hand. Hand in hand is everybody. Okay, 9, again, roses, roses. Just very flirtatious, and it created a big change in the relationship. Or this can say that she was working Charles. She was definitely working Charles, flirting and using her feminine attraction. And a lot of you hate when I say this, but I think many perceive Meghan as a very attractive woman. Very young, very slim, keeps herself very well. She's not as young as she could be. She's probably in her 40s, but she's kept herself pretty well. Okay, so this karmic shift can be that things have really changed since, or she was driving the change through using her feminine wiles and flirtation. What's over on Charles' side? Okay, cup overflowing. The cup overflowing and the devil always show up with Meghan. Cup overflowing is the most emotional card, so she got an emotional response out of him, and she really solidified the relationship. And Ace of Diamonds, Sun, 17, 5 hearts. She really got him emotionally connected to her, which is dangerous, because if that connection is not real, if it's not solid, the person will react like Piers Morgan and be very offended and feel like they were just being used. And that's how I see Charles reacting as well. So he really felt connected to her. He really felt invested. He was really starting to invest. They spent $1 million just on clothes the first year. Just crazy. You know, this one person who just walked into the royal family is spending more money on clothes than everyone else combined in the family. That's a little bit over the top, don't you think? That's a little bit over the top. Okay, so underneath we have water into wine and city, 16, 4 spades, coffin. So water into wine is party, very festive, very emotional. It's kind of similar. It works in concert with the 10 hearts. So very bubbly, very fun, very effervescent, and that's how she presents. Very emotional, very effervescent, very, very personal, really gets personally involved with you. But over here underneath we have the devil, and the devil is a terrible card, the worst card. We have a home, and we have 3 blackbirds. Actions of the devil in the close relationships. 7 and 11, 18, 5 diamonds. On an ongoing basis, she's really underneath, hidden from view. She's absolutely ruthless, and she'll do really, really terrible things without a thought. Maybe, people say the words narcissist, things like that. So she really, really connected very personally with Charles, and he loved it. He ate it up. He fell for it. Okay, but underneath we have the actions of a devil in the close relationship. And we know this is the case because all along, okay, she's sleeping with Harry, okay, as his wife, and she's gathering intel, and she's gonna completely just tell the worst secrets on them and do whatever to hurt them. She'll do anything to hurt them. So now Charles and Camilla had some troubles about a year ago, and I did a reading, Will They Divorce? We had Camilla leaving and going to live on her own property away from Charles, not in his house for quite some time, like 3 months. She went away and wasn't staying with him. And I did a reading, gosh, are they going to divorce? And I did see that things were not going very well with them. The question I have is this because of Meghan? And when they did the carriage ride, remember the carriage ride for, I think it was Trooping the Color, and Meghan and Harry rode backwards in Camilla and Kate's carriage. Kate and Camilla were riding forward. Harry was supposed to ride with William solo on a white steed. That's a nice image. That's a beautiful image. And a lot of people said Meghan was not supposed to show up at all. Well, apparently Meghan did show up at the last moment. Excuse me. And this is before it all fell apart and they left the royal family. So they at the very end, and apparently the word is she came with a lawyer, and you have to, I want to be in the Trooping the Color. And so at the last moment they put Harry and Meghan in this carriage riding backwards with Kate and Camilla. So I want to look at, is the relationship with Camilla so bad how is the relationship with Camilla between her and Meghan? What's Camilla's feelings about Meghan? Okay, because if Meghan was really flirting with Charles, and that's inappropriate on so many levels. Okay, that's a father and a son, and she's flirting with the father, and it crosses some lines. Okay, nothing happened between them. I also wanted to see that nothing happened. Okay, it didn't go any further. Okay, it was just flirtation and attaching emotionally. Okay, but what are Camilla's feelings about Meghan, and because of this thing with Charles? 2 hearts, okay. Boy, that's going to be interesting to read. What are Camilla's feelings about Meghan? And I want to relate it to all this stuff with Charles. So 7 hearts. This is very red, close relationship. Okay, 16. 4 spades, coffin. It's over. Finger of God. Outside events have very directly affected this. Have very much affected the relationship, and that this is a closed issue. 4 spades. And that's interesting. The crown is step by step working it out. 5 diamonds, 18, 5 diamonds. She feels that this is a closed issue. She feels that this has been taken care of. She harbors no ill will. She feels that steps have been taken and are being taken to deal with Meghan in the close relationship, and it's a closed issue. She's not upset at all. You could say that Camilla has completely forgiven Meghan, and that's very, very healthy. That's very healthy, and that makes me think very well of Camilla. All right, let's review. Meghan Markle's secret royal diary. Was she doing it? Absolutely, and she's gonna dish the deepest dirt. And from her point of view, she's reacting to people being mean to her. And you see this over and over and over and over. And this is her theme. She's perfect. People are not treating her very well. You made it to the royal palace. You were treated very well. I mean, you're treated a whole lot better than I am. I got to say that. And if you're going to stay in the palace, I'll trade places with you. I'll even do that. So she feels that she was being it's because she feels she was being mistreated, but she was doing very underhanded deeds from the beginning, and she's pulling out all the stops. And I think the royal family is very concerned. Okay, is Meghan Markle talking to a publisher? How far along is it? The book and a solid foundation and ready to go public. She can pull the trigger and go public today. She's got it all written down. She's all ready. She has her very personal memoirs written to the point that they're ready to publish. And it's because she was kicked out of the royal family. She was very wrong. She was harmed. She was hurt. She's very upset. and she feels that she's been mistreated, absolutely. And that's what all these dark cards are about. What happened between Meghan and Charles? Did Meghan turn on the charm and really, really connect with Charles? And did anything like inappropriate beyond that happen? Nothing. There was no sexual liaison between them, thank God. Okay, but she does this to everybody, hand in hand. She literally does this to everybody. This is how she works people. She comes on them very emotionally, help me. She's very, very emotionally appealing person. An attractive woman who's very emotionally appealing and wants your help. And she's constantly triangulating people and getting their help. And I think she's very, very adept at this. I think this is how she gets through life. And that's why there's always people talking on her behalf. She's with Angelina Jolie is mentoring her, and she's getting help from George Clooney and even Tom Cruise and Oprah. There's nothing wrong with her being good at dealing with people. She's very good at it. But how she does it, she definitely mixes in sexual attraction and flirting. She's doing that. She's definitely doing that. And she really got Charles emotionally. 10 cups. You can't get more emotional than the 10 cups. And he became very invested in this relationship. Okay, and then the devilish actions of Meghan underneath the surface were revealed, and that rather changes things. That's going to change things. How is and so we see Charles actually being rather kind of cold to Meghan at this point. How is Camilla feeling? I expected to see a lot of dark cards. Camilla feeling towards Meghan. She feels that the Meghan problem, if there is a problem, the Meghan problem has been taken care of for her. And that the crown is acting upon this very wisely, step by step by step. And they've initiated a process. They've got a whole plan in place. And the crown is taking care of this. And obviously Charles, as the next king, he's the man who's about to be king. He's very involved in this. And Camilla would know, of course. So she's completely satisfied with how Meghan is being dealt with through circumstances, okay, being sent to California and whatnot. That's how I see it. I'm Joseph Magi, author of Playing Card Divination, Fortune Telling, the Magi Method. Find the book worldwide on Amazon and Kindle and paperback versions. Find the full color card deck used here on Etsy/Magi Method. Many thanks to the generous folks who support me and have bought me a cup of tea. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and comment.